2017 AT&T American Cup, and we are the Final Five. Those words still echo today. We're just west of New York City, the home of the NHL's New Jersey Devils, the Prudential Center. This is the most important international annual competition on American soil. It's the 2017 AT&T American Cup. Al Troutwig, along with Olympic gold medalists Tim Daggett, Nastya Bukin, and Andrea Joyce, and you were looking at a woman who just missed. She just missed going to the Olympics. She was an alternate in Rio, and this may now be the beginning of Regan Smith's time.
Her coming out party right here. A good job. The most difficult vault we've seen today. Only the other American, Riley McCusker, was able to pull that around, that double twisting Yurchenko.
And you know, in training, we kind of watched her train on this apparatus. I personally didn't even see her do this vault, so it was great to be able to see her do it here. But Al, as you mentioned, she wasn't really even experienced at all, and all of a sudden this year she's the most experienced American gymnast out there. See a little bit of a leg separation in the air, pike down on that landing.
Boy, Nastya, can you imagine how difficult it is mentally to just miss the Olympics and then now look at an Olympics 4 years from now?
Well, when we talked to her earlier this week, you know, she said, no matter what sacrifices I have to make, I am all in for the next 4 years.
Destination Tokyo. Regan Smith score of 14.433, and we've got to get used to some new scores here.
Yes, we do. It's after every Olympic Games, there is a big shakeup and a lot of changes in the scoring. That's actually a very good number. Right around a point in deduction. That's excellent. The judges become more brutal every quadrennium. And on top of that, well, here are the deductions and what they mean.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you can keep your deductions to a minimum, you're good. Assuming that you're a good gymnast.
Yes, but also, in addition to that, for the folks that really follow the sport, every routine that you see would have scored 5/10 higher, a half a point higher with the old rules. So
basically, we're not going to be seeing the scores that we saw just a few months ago at the Olympic Games in Rio. They're going to be much lower on all events.
So this is what we're going to see, I think, all day long. You know, we're going to see some good gymnasts, without a doubt, but this vault right here, so much lower of a starting score than we just saw from Regan Smith, so it'll be hard for her and for the rest of the field to remain competitive.
Can we have Germany? Now the shift is on.
So watch this right here. It's a nice vault. But the two Americans did a whole nother twist, which means it starts almost a full point higher.
We'll get her score in a moment. Regan Smith looking good so far as the women are just getting started. The men are well into their 6 rotations. This is the AT&T American Cup. The AT&T American Cup is brought to you by Pantene. Strong is beautiful. And by AT&T. We're back in Newark, New Jersey. So far, American Regan Smith is having her way. A nice lead after just 1 rotation. Her teammate Riley McCusker is tied with Asuka Teramoto, an Olympic medalist. And they are getting set on the uneven bars.
This is just warm-ups right here.
And this is Riley McCusker, and she's getting used to a lot of stuff here internationally.
And yeah, you know, it was an okay start. To be perfectly honest, she can be much better than this. She kind of had a little technical error. Head comes out a bit early. And what that does, when your head comes out, you drift to the side, and you see that big step forward, and it's completely over the line. That's a 3/10 deduction in itself.
This is where where she comes from, New Jersey.
That's right, but on this vault, you know, we watched in training. I saw her do it a little bit better, but this really is her weakest event. We will see her later on coming up on the uneven bars and the balance beam, where she is just absolutely beautiful. Her lines are phenomenal.
When we came on the air today, we heard the words, "We are the final five," and wow, that was perfect, because that was Marta Karolyi's last team. That was the last time 5 are going to be part of an Olympic team, and we begin an entirely new era in gymnastics. And Nastia, your dad, Valery Lukin, is now in charge of the women's program. Is that weird for you?
You know, it's not weird at all. I spent about 15 years of my life in similar situations. When we were in the gym, he was just my coach. When we left the gym and we went home, he was just my dad, and that's exactly how I see it. When I look out here onto the competition floor, he is just the head coach of the national team. When we walk out of this arena, he's my dad again. That's not to say I'm not extremely proud of him, and it's exciting, but I'm also very anxious to see what he's going to do with this national team.
Now, Marta and Bella Karolyi created the greatest dynasty in the history of gymnastics. How daunting is that for your father, do you think?
Well, you know, I think it's obviously they're huge shoes to fill, and it's a very new team. Normally we have a few Olympians coming back onto the stage, but brand new team. But he also spent 4 years as the developmental head coach, and so he's kind of grown up with these athletes. And you know, again, it's nerve-wracking, it's exciting, it's all of these different emotions, but I know he's ready to take that.
Yeah, he actually told me that all of the girls that are at the top level were his kids in the developmental program, so he says it really doesn't feel weird at all.
Well, I look forward to you disagreeing with your dad like you did when you were his gymnast.
Absolutely, and he said the exact same thing. He said, "I hope you disagree with me."
Now, we have absolutely seen a star is born here today. Yul Moldauer of the University of Oklahoma, a teammate of Pete Daggett, an NCAA champion, has absolutely been it today.
Such an amazing young man, a great kid, and he is phenomenal. You know, gymnastics is easier for him than other people. Look at the height, the perfect landings. And like I said, he makes it look so effortless. He flies up to a handstand. It's just gorgeous to watch.
I mean, I think even if you don't know the technicalities, the starting value, all of that, just look at him compared to all the other competitors out here on the competition floor today. He just sets himself apart from the rest of the field.
To me, it's like gymnastics that's heavily caffeinated.
Yeah, absolutely. We haven't seen 2 Americans get through a pommel horse routine at the American Cup in a while now, and both of them, Yul and Akash Modi, pulled that off, but he is so light, and because he's so light, these impossible-like strength skills aren't really that hard for him. And he's able to just, watch this, he'll go right up into this Maltese, and he opens his hands to tell the judges, hey, I don't need any help at all. Look at picture perfect right there. And on top of that, he is phenomenal in the air. He's like a cat. He does that all day long.
He has been great so far today. Akash Modi there, his American teammate from Stanford.
And actually today, later on today, the University of Oklahoma meet Stanford in Palo Alto for a dual meet, and they are far and away #1 and #2. When I first went up to these guys before the meet began, I said, so who's going to win today? And I threw it out there like, I want to see how they respond. And of course, Yul said Oklahoma, and he said Stanford. They didn't say I'm going to win.
It's too bad that such an important get-together doesn't have the 2 biggest stars.
Yeah.
And we go to the uneven bars. The women in their second rotation, Yufeng Jia. And Nastia, China was so much about Beijing in 2008 and Peking for then. Where are they now?
Well, you know, they definitely did not have their best performance at these last Olympic Games, but this event right here, the Chinese gymnasts have always been so great.
But everything looks a little hard for her. Just a little labored all week long.
You know, the uneven bars, you really have to flow from one skill to the other, make it look effortless, and that was beautiful.
Yeah,
and right on top of the bar. A little short right there.
And another short handstand. She doesn't look like she is in competitive shape to me. Very weak first rotation, only a full twisting Yurchenko.
Now, if Moldauer is going to be challenged, it could begin right now.
Oh, absolutely. He's the second best gymnast in the world, and one of, I think, really the only guy that's ever beaten Kohei in the qualifications at the Olympic Games. He had the highest score, and it came down in the finals to the last event, and he took a hop on the landing and lost by less than 1/10 of a point to King Kohei. But this is off the charts, powerful, dynamic, great. It's called a Dragolescu. He'll flip his body 3 times around. It's really, really hard. Oh, boy. And he can do that better.
So that's Oleg Vernayev, and Tim was talking about the greatest of all time, Kohei Uchimura.
You know, Tim, you said that he lost to him, but we always have to remember that he still won that silver medal in the all-around competition at the Olympic Games, and so close. And he now is determined to compete for 4 more years and hope to make it to that Tokyo team and get a little redemption there.
Riley McCusker in her first major international competition.
And so they have these camps. They've been having them for years in the USA, and at these camps they have competitions, and at the last 2 competitions she actually came out ahead of even Regan Smith, had the #1 spot. She looked a little bit nervy for her first event, but as Nastia said, she's beautiful lines here.
Great connection, and immediately into a Tkachev. And here's where she's going to really fly high. Oh.
Yep, and it just kind of didn't get her chest forward quick enough.
Are we seeing some nerves here today?
Absolutely. You know, this is really her first international competition representing the national team, and to have it be the American Cup on this big stage.
And that, of course, is Maggie Haney, Lori Hernandez's coach, Olympic gold medalist for the team, and silver on the balance beam from Rio.
She's going to try that again right here into a connection.
Oh, my. And she just is really a little bit out of it right now. Just things are going too quickly for her. Really different dismount. That's what she's capable of, but she had the full 1-point fall, and then on the transition from high to low, another huge deduction.
You know, even with this not great routine, the future really is bright for Riley. She has such great difficulty in execution. She just needs a little more experience.
Akash Modi on the vault.
And a good job, little bit, I think, outside that line. But these two guys, I think they have an advantage in a lot of ways because of the collegiate system. They are competing over and over again, weekend after weekend. And, you know, for most of these guys that are in the meet besides them, it's their first time out.
Okay, so Nastia, after you had, if you ever did have a disaster, what was said to you that meant anything?
Well, you have to turn the page. You know, you try to forget about it as much as you can. It's so difficult, especially for Riley. I know she wanted to come out here and show the world what she's capable of doing, but she really needs to move on. The balance beam is next for her, and that's a very mentally challenging event. So now she has to prove not only to herself, but everybody else that she is mentally capable of moving on.
So on this major release, I think she just doesn't get her body turned over quick enough. Might be a little far too. You see a Go Riley sign in the back, but just drifts away from the bar and almost had that. But
and you know, we saw her do this in training all week long, and it was great. And then here's that second release she does immediately into a pack salto and just completely so far from the bar. And tried to cover it up, but that is a huge deduction.
That's a 13.1. That is a red, which means not good. very, very dangerous for your spot in the standings. Meanwhile, Akash Modi gets a very good these days in gymnastics, 14.2. This is the AT&T American Cup. Well, in a sport, we had a 4'8" giant in Simone Biles. We've got Regan Smith, who is tiny with a capital T, and she is in front of the 2017 AT&T American Cup. How about this shot? She was in Rio as an alternate. And we've seen some funny photographs of Simone Biles with big basketball stars, and there she is with DeAndre Jordan of the gold medal winning Team USA.
It's almost impossible to believe that can be such a discrepancy there. Wow.
One of the best in the world.
Yes, absolutely.
Standing next to one of the best in the world.
Hey, different shapes and sizes, that's for sure.
And that is Olympian Kim Zmeskal. And for Kim to almost tower over Regan Smith is an extraordinary thing.
Actually, she said that that's one of the greatest things. She says, finally, I have a gymnast that I'm taller than. Regan doesn't like it.
Well, here's an emerging star. I think we'll be talking about Yul Moldauer for a long time, and in a starry sense. He just does things differently than everybody else right now.
And he's such a charismatic person and so happy and so friendly. One of the nicest kids you'll ever meet. Always high-fiving, always supportive of teammates and competitors even. Actually comes from a gym where Sasha Artemov, who won an Olympic medal on the pommel horse, comes from that same gym in Colorado. I had the pleasure of watching him grow up as a little kid, and what he was capable of doing, Al, when he was just a small little boy. It was shocking, really shocking. It just the level of difficulty, and it just impossible for a little kid to do. He could handle it. And you see on the side of the head, it's a little bit grown in, but he has got three lines there. Oklahoma has won the last two NCAA championships, and they're going for their third this year. So he decided to put 3 lines in his hair to say that it's a done deal.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a statement.
But you know what? And it's not cocky in any way. He is not in any way that. He's confident. A lot of people have been waiting a long time for him to mature enough to be at this level.
Yeah, when I talked to him earlier this week, he said, you know, when I found out that I was selected to compete at the American Cup, I was very honored, but I took it very seriously. And after the Winter Cup, which is the qualifying competition, he said, I went back, I watched all my routines, and I really tried to work on every little thing that I could improve.
What's his background, Tim?
Well, he's South Korean. He was adopted. You know, just an amazing young man. If he has a challenge, it's this event. Sometimes it can be a little funky, but then he'll be out, and it'll be flawless, and he'll just rock the landing.
Okay, warm-ups are done. This is the real deal. The leader and the 2016 NCAA all-around champion.
Yeah, the only person to do that besides Yul is Sam McCulloch, who was supposed to be in this competition, tore his Achilles tendon. So this is a blind landing. He'll do a 2.5 twist off of the table, try to find that ground. Pretty good.
Didn't look like a struggle to me at all.
Pretty good. At that re-ranking meet, as you were mentioning, the Winter Cup Challenge, he stuck that cold.
You know, Tim, as I'm watching him perform here today, I find it unbelievable that he didn't get to go to Rio.
Yeah, you know, he was right on the verge, and that was so close to a stick. I think that this is the best thing that can happen to Team USA. They've got some young guys that are hungry, and they have waited a long time.
And that's kind of what he said. He said, as I was watching, the Olympics in Rio, I thought about the next quad, and I told myself, I need to start preparing now.
That is a huge score today, 14.466 from the men's leader to the women's leader, Regan Smith.
Really just needs to get through the uneven bars.
She struggled a little bit in training, couldn't quite put together a routine, but she is a competitor. Here's where her first release move will come.
That was nice. And another one. Down to the low bar.
A little bit of a leg separation there, but was able to hold on and
basically just put it to her feet, though, and she will absolutely remain in the lead. Boy, you know, it's just, you can't teach confidence. She is a confident kid. She's able to do it in training, and then she's able to do the exact same thing, you know, under the lights. And that is a very rare quality.
And she said, you know, last year really helped her gain that confidence. She says, I feel more confident, and I feel like I'm a better gymnast than I ever was.
And she said the whole journey just really was so educational from every standpoint.
And here's that dismount. She does a full twisting double back, spots the landing.
Is that a stick?
You know what? I think with these judges, probably not.
No. And, you know, it was very good, but she can be better, actually. Some of the handstands early on weren't quite as sharp as they can be, but like I said, it is not going to keep her out of any kind of top spot.
Looks good from here with the new code of points, 14.4 for the leader at the AT&T American Cup, Regan Smith. Back live in Newark, New Jersey at the Prudential Center. Al Troutwig, Nastia Lukin, Tim Daggett, Andrea Joyce. That's Ryohei Kato. He was in Rio, a teammate of Kohei Uchimura, and they try to continue a long line of Japanese success. You can go all the way back to one of the most famous gymnasts in history,
Sukahara.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, a household name in the gymnastics world, but they were finally able to overtake China and win that gold medal. But as you mentioned, many feel Kohei Uchimura the greatest ever. He said that Ryohei is a dependable gymnast who never makes mistakes. His greatest strengths, he doesn't crumble. And he is really cat-like on that because he doesn't have quite as much power as some of the other athletes we've seen, but he is able to turn that around 2.5 times and get the rotation there as well.
And, you know, he makes it look so easy, but it really isn't. Look how high he gets off of the horse. A little bit of knees bent in the air, but spots that landing over his shoulder. Just a tiny hop.
Is it possible that Kohei Uchimura can still be in line for Tokyo in 4 years?
It's absolutely possible. I mean, his goal is certainly to do that, to represent Japan and in his home country. Both of the Japanese here today, Asuka as well, said that it's like a dream for them, a vision.
Olympic medalist Asuka Teramoto.
Really nice release skill and unorthodox in that she does it going towards the low bar. Another release.
Beautiful lines, a little short on that handstand, leg separation there on that turn, but so far so good. Just the dismount here.
Well, a strong routine.
The Japanese women haven't been as successful as the men, but recently they have really improved so much. When we talked to her, she, you know, said, we said, what is the secret to that success? And she said, it's a secret.
One thing about this sport, we've seen that coaching is extraordinarily important. Kato gets a 14.5, and today that's a huge score.
The new WBALTV.com, Maryland's most trusted news source.
Hello everyone, I'm Rebecca Lowe at our NBC studios in Stamford, Connecticut. We'll get you back to Newark shortly, but first, USA Gymnastics has been in multiple news reports in recent months regarding allegations that its former team doctor sexually abused dozens of women. 53-year-old Larry Nassar worked for USA Gymnastics for 30 years, including as a national team doctor from 1996 to 2015. He's alleged to have molested young female gymnasts whom he treated for injuries when he worked with the U.S. team, as well as with athletes at Michigan State University and a prominent gym in Michigan. Nassar's been charged with 25 counts of first-degree criminal sexual conduct and is currently being held in federal custody on child pornography-related charges. Dozens of women have also filed criminal and civil complaints against him for alleged incidents dating back to 1994. Among those publicly accusing Nassar of abuse is one Olympic medalist, Jamie Dancher, who won a bronze medal with the U.S. Olympic team in 2000. Nassar has pleaded not guilty to all of the charges brought against him so far. USA Gymnastics and prominent individuals connected to the organization have also been named in some of the civil suits, including former U.S. national team coordinators Bella and Marta Karolyi. While not accused of direct involvement, the Karolyis are portrayed in two suits as failing to monitor Nassar and creating a culture that allowed him to operate. They have denied the allegations. USA Gymnastics officials have said in a series of statements that they immediately hired an investigator upon learning of an athlete's concern regarding Nassar in mid-June 2015. Following the completion of interviews by the investigator in late July, officials say they reported their findings to the FBI and fired Nassar. The organization has also hired former federal prosecutor Deborah J. Daniels to review its internal practices on handling sexual abuse claims. Recommendations from that review are expected next month. Nassar, meanwhile, remains under criminal investigation. Let's return now to Newark as Nastia Lukin joins us. And Nastia, you were on the senior national team from 2005 to 2009 and again in 2012, and you knew Larry Nassar during that time. Did you ever personally experience anything like what you've heard about in these allegations against Larry Nassar?
No, absolutely not. And, you know, I'm completely shocked when I heard all the news. And he treated all my injuries throughout my entire career. And every encounter that I had with him was professional. And my whole experience on the national team with USA Gymnastics was nothing but positive.
And before these allegations came out, Nastia, did you ever hear of teammates or other gymnasts being abused by him?
No, never. You know, again, I'm in such shock to hear about this news, and my thoughts and prayers go out to all the gymnasts and the parents that are affected and involved in all of this. And, you know, I encourage everybody in any sport, really, if they feel something is not right, to speak up.
Nastia, thank you. We appreciate it. And we will be back to the 2017 American Cup after this.
You are looking at the man who could be the next big thing in American gymnastics, Yul Moldauer, at the AT&T American Cup. He's got a lead of almost 3/10, but that's just one big mistake away for Oleg Vernayev of Ukraine. And he has a lot more international experience than Yul Moldauer does.
Yeah, and he's the best in the world on this event right here. He is the Olympic gold medalist on the parallel bars and the runner-up to Kohei Uchimura. Look at that. He had been waiting for that moment for so long. He's a fan favorite. He is loved all over the world. One of the hardest working gymnasts on the planet.
And he said after the Olympics, things changed a little bit for the better in Ukraine for him. They finally got all new equipment for their training center, and he said that's definitely going to help me train for the next 4 years.
And if you're looking at it on paper, at this point in time, Oleg has an advantage over Yul. There's no question. He has more difficulty here, but in some ways, Yul is a little cleaner. So we'll have to see. And Oleg's routine here is just super difficult. Little bit of a separation there. Now watch this. From one arm, very tricky. from one bar, I should say. Oh, boy. And that right there, he hits his legs. That should be a half-a-point deduction. Watch this. I love this skill. And he flies from one end to the other. I think he clipped his feet on the bars again. I mean, it's such a difficult routine, but he's got errors, but not there.
But wouldn't it be impossible to think that he's going to be near the level that he was in Rio?
At this point, it would be very hard. But this guy, like I said, he is a worker. And you know, the only way he supports himself is by traveling around the world. So watch this right here. His body makes contact with the bar. He has a form deduction. So let's look, and his knees are bent right there. You see, look and see if those legs, and definitely you see the chalk fly in the air right there.
But you know, it all happens so fast that the judges also have to see that he hit it again. But even though he stayed on, I mean, that was almost a point deduction just for hitting those feet.
Well, we'll see what the damage is as Akash Modi from Stanford chalks up and gets ready to go. We go to Andrea Joyce.
Well, Al, we know that the American Cup is a terrific opportunity for guys like Akash Modi to get in front of international judges. Akash is here. He got the invitation to the American Cup because Sam Mikulak had to withdraw. Sam Mikulak, the two-time and the 2014 American Cup champion, was supposed to be the headliner here. He was in all of the initial publicity shots with Regan Smith, but then in his first competition since the Olympics at the Winter Cup last month, in his first rotation on floor, he tore his Achilles, and that's the same Achilles he injured in 2015. I spoke to Sam on the phone a couple of hours ago. He told me that the surgery went really well. They totally reconstructed his Achilles. He thinks it's going to be about 3 times stronger than it's ever been. And just like last time, he's in a boot for about a month, and he's in his dad's garage working his upper body as much as he can to stay in shape. He says he's confident he will be able to compete at nationals in a couple of events, but will he be able to go for his 5th in a row all around? Not likely. Al?
Well, that tweet said it all. That ticking time bomb that was my Achilles finally went off. Well, injury is opportunity, and that's what today is for Akash Modi.
Absolutely. I was about 20 yards away when that happened, and it was definite. Good routine so far. Super hard dismount. Yikes. What a dismount. Full twisting, double fly high, stick the landing, gymnastics 101 from Akash Modi.
You know, after every Olympic Games, it always seems like the year after the Olympics is a little bit slower, not as exciting. But I don't know, here watching especially these two men today, I mean, the future of USA Gymnastics is bright.
So look at this, so hard. It's a double back with a full twist. Only a handful of guys in the world perform this, and to spot the landing like that and not move the feet, spectacular.
Akash Modi was 1.7 plus back, but he's a point off the podium. So
1 more to go, 2 for you.
2 more to go. The men are into the 5th rotation. And Modi gets a, wow. Today, this is a rarity. A 15.033. That will change the standings.
I'll take that.
Meanwhile, Oleg Vernayev keeps the press on, although with the deductions, it's a cautionary score of a 14.933.
Yeah, Akash just beat the best gymnast in the world on parallel bars. And Yule still to come.
Meanwhile, Riley McCusker of the United States is back with her coach after going through one of the scariest falls I have ever seen on the balance beam. To me, it was a millimeter away from being something possibly tragic. This is after having a tough time on the uneven bars, and this is what happened with her coach, Maggie, just a few feet away.
And I knew that this was going to be a pivotal routine for her because, you know, she let the nerves, I think, get a hold of her, a little on vault, and then certainly, I believe, on the uneven bars. And watch what happens right here. She's way off, but somehow able to pull that back together, which was a great sign.
She has such beautiful lines. The difficulty is there, like we talked about already. And I really think she just needs a little bit more experience. This is only the 3rd time she's competed in a big arena like this. Beautiful series, 3 elements in a row, very difficult. Slight bobble at the end.
Without question, she has a lot of the ingredients that you need to be a very top gymnast. It's obvious, and it has great lines and really good arms and hands. I love it kind of accentuates everything. Well, you know, we talk about it all the time, how tricky balance beam can be and how fragile it can all be and fall apart instantly. It's only 4 inches wide, and that foot. It's the 2nd time I saw it, and she just doesn't get that foot down on the beam at all, and could have been catastrophic.
Wow, that was so scary.
Yeah.
I mean, Nastia, seriously, how do you get up on the beam the next time?
Well, that's, you know, gymnastics is so physically challenging and demanding, but I always say sometimes it's even more mentally challenging and demanding, and that's exactly what she's going to have to do. When she goes back into the gym, you know, obviously she's not getting on the beam again today, but when she goes back in the gym on Monday, she's going to have to do that same exact dismount and forget about it.
Wow. For more, let's go to Andrea Joyce.
Hey, Al, I just spoke to Maggie Haney, Riley's coach, and she said that she's fine physically. You know, she's a little shaken up back there, but she said basically the thing that's hurt the most, her pride, but she'll continue on today.
Well, you know, one of the things that they're going to do, though, they're going to be able to go into the gym with safe environments. She'll do it into pits. Someone will be standing right there for her, so she will inch her way back in.
And now the men's leader, Yul Moldauer. And he needs to do some serious stuff here. He needs a 14.667 to hold on to the top spot. Fernaya putting on some pressure.
Can he do it? Absolutely. Look at how light and the line moves that others struggle on. Watch this right here. He'll do a full spin on one arm. Gorgeous. He does the same dismount we saw from Oleg Vernayev. Double front, half out. Oh! And it was really good, but I almost never see him not stick that. But that was great.
We'll see if he keeps the lead in a moment. And we're about to see if Reagan Smith can keep the lead in the women's race here at the AT&T American Cup.
And, you know, Al, she's a person, and she watched her teammate and someone that she has trained with over and over again just have a really hard time. And there's no question that it's going to have some sort of an impact. We'll have to see if Reagan is seasoned enough. I think she is.
But this event for Reagan, this is where she really is exceptional.
That was Simone Biles-like, wasn't it?
It really was. And here's her series, a huge back handspring to a back layout coming up.
It's great.
Beautiful.
And she is nowhere near done. Watch this right here. Super hard. Back with a full. Oh my gosh. Cannot believe that. Really, you know, we talk about her being so close to making that Olympic team in 2016, and beam was the primary reason. She is phenomenal on this event. A little tentative right there. Oh, boy.
You know, this, to me, it's nerves.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
she can do both of those skills without any problem.
Dismount right here. That was great. Glad to see her finish that way.
She had a lead of 8/10.
Wow.
Meanwhile, Oleg Vernayev was able to campaign to add an extra 10th.
So the only way that that can happen is the difficulty score or the maximum score was incorrect. So they added a 10th of a point.
Okay, so that would put the pressure on Yul Moldauer, who still is going to have the lead, but a very solid 14. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, he is. He's still up by .099. So almost a 10th. That is very tight stuff for the men. Now Reagan, a fall off, and then a hold and a save.
So very nice. Simone Biles-esque, as you said, Al.
And here's the opening pass that she does. You want to really look for those extended hips right here all the way through till the end. Just beautiful.
But this is so hard. Backflip, and then she twists, full turn. You know, it's so difficult. I don't know why she came off the beam, though. That's, you know, maybe she was a little under-rotated. Let's look at it from this angle. Oh, no, definitely. Those hips were out of a line. And that was pretty far off. There's no saving that.
And another save right here. Almost missed that back foot.
But this was phenomenal right here. Remember, you got to get both of those feet down. She smashes that beam right there, gets up in the air. A defiant finish to that routine.
Well, we're going to have to do a little math here. Her lead was 8/10, and that is a very scary score for the leader. 13.266 for Reagan Smith as the women head to the final rotation, and we continue live from Newark, New Jersey here on NBC. Reagan Smith had a difficult time on the balance beam, but how many women gymnasts can say that? Her teammate also as well, narrowly avoiding what could have been a very bad injury. Team USA is moving on from the Marta Karolyi era, which was so successful. And Nastia Lukin's dad, Valerie, is with Andrea Joyce.
Well, that's right, Al. Valerie, first of all, congratulations on the new job.
Thank you very much.
So you are inheriting a program, I mean, the U.S. women's program coming off their most successful Olympics in history. What's the key, do you think, to maintaining that and sustaining that excellence?
Well, obviously the key is not to change anything, because everything's been done very well, you know, and that's we're going to attend to it.
With the bar set that high, I mean, I'm looking at you and you look as calm as you usually do. How much pressure is there, though, to continue that excellence?
Well, it is not easy after what our team has achieved at the Olympic Games. But again, you know, the main thing is just to focus on the things that we can do.
You have been the developmental coordinator for the last several years. What have you seen on the landscape? What do you think for this next Olympic cycle? What are we going to see for the women?
The future looks very exciting to me. We have an army of the young, talented.
An army?
Yes, it is. That's exactly what I feel like. And it's coming up. It's going to be very exciting in the next few years.
We might be seeing a little bit of the future here with Reagan and Riley. From what you've seen so far today, uncharacteristic mistake from Reagan on the balance beam. But what do you think? Are there nerves here? Are they just getting their Olympic cycle started? What do you think of what you've seen so far?
Well, Reagan is actually coming out of the injury, you know, so the year is still very young. I'm pretty sure she's going to get back in shape and everything's going to be fine. And Riley's just our young little star coming up, and she's got a lot to learn.
And she'll learn a lot from this experience for sure. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, back to you, Al.
Okay, don't change anything. Seems like the perfect response. And we have an army for the future. This is the AT&T 2017 American Cup. We're We're back live in Newark, New Jersey. This is Tisha Volleman of the Netherlands, and this could be extraordinary.
Yeah, you know, the Netherlands, as a team, they have a style, and they don't do the hardest acrobatic gymnastics, but they do a lot of artistic work and a lot of turns. Watch. There's one, a double right here. It may not look difficult, but really very challenging. She trained a triple twist on the beam, but had a number of problems with that in training.
Tim, I always say this to you, just getting on the beam is difficult.
That was great. That combination right there works well with the new code of points. Did it, I think, in good connection.
While she has those great artistic skills, she did say that her goal is to add more difficulty to her program this year.
Unfortunately, she has had a somewhat rough go. She was okay on vaulting, but then on bars it did not go well at all, an 11.866. Full twisting, laid out, gainer somersault. Once again, doesn't look as maybe spectacular, as difficult, but, you know, it fulfills the rules. And her coach told me, Nicole Zip, that, you know, we cannot do it like everybody else. We don't have that kind of athlete, so we need to find our own way.
But as you said, Tim, those turns that she does, I mean, they look easy, but they really are not easy, especially from this angle. You can see 4 inches wide, as we always tell you, but look at that, right on her toes. And she did that triple in training.
And this is awesome here. This front handspring right into this leg kicking over front salto. Very nicely done. I would say she connected that.
And the dismount we haven't really seen here today. Don't see too often, but a gainer off the front of the beam and a full twist. See, spots the landing.
Little bit of a closed hip angle. Not little, kind of a big one. So.
Well, the last time we talked about a gymnast from the Netherlands, it was in Rio when it was Sane Wevers. And she did a little something called beating Simone Biles.
Which is almost impossible, right? Look at this here.
That skill is just, that is what everybody does on the floor exercise, and sometimes they can't even do it there.
Watch this here. Incredible.
Just stunning.
Lori Hernandez. Some gold medal shoes to fill.
You know, and she was actually the alternate of that Olympic team, and she said it's really amazing how they did at the Olympics, and of course I was a little bit disappointed, and I hope I could have made that team, but it was great for their country because the facilities have now improved, and you know, there's so much more attention on the sport of gymnastics now in their country.
Well, she didn't score very well at 12.200. So the women will finish up on floor exercise. The men will be on the high bar, and that's by design. So Teramoto can now take over the top spot of Reagan Smith if she gets a 14.567.
Yeah, the way we have seen the scoring be today, that's a very, very tall order. First test right here. Nicely done. She's actually already a 2-time Olympian and was part of Japan's amazing success at the last Olympic Games, placing 4th in the team competition. She was actually 8th overall in the all-around.
But you have to think she wants to make, oh, a little off, not a nodie. You have to think she wants to make that 3rd Olympic team, especially with the Olympics coming up in Tokyo.
She told me I'd be overwhelmed if that could happen.
Beautiful routine. No major errors here.
Big dismount here. Actually, only a 2.5. She's capable of doing a triple full. She's watered down a little bit today. She only did a half turn on her vault, a handspring layout front with a half. She can do it with 1.5 twists, just being a little bit careful.
Now Kato of Japan in 3rd place after the 4th rotation. Just when it was safe to say you didn't understand the scoring in gymnastics, now you really don't understand the scoring in gymnastics.
Well, once again, basically any routine that you see would have scored a 0.5 point higher before the rule changes. So everybody isn't getting worse. It's just the judges keep getting more intense. Oh boy, and that is a gigantic error, and another one, and I don't know what he's going to do. Wow. He is known for being a consistent performer and never doing things like he did right there. But that was a bit of a hot mess right in the beginning there. It was one problem after another. The Japanese delegation actually came much earlier than everybody else to deal with the time change. Actually, I think they were here almost 3 days earlier than the other delegations. Double pike and a stick, but top of the routine, not good at all.
Well, the parallel bars are similar for the women, the uneven bars, because every single skill is back to back. You don't have time for an extra swing or an extra breath, and when one thing goes off, it kind of continues to do so until you can get back on track.
And so he's doing this skill where he's going to drop below the bars and then try to do a half turn, and his body is just way too back on the bar. This is a cover-up. He's trying to fix it, and then the cover-up gets worse. So there were a lot of deductions right there, and
sometimes you can save a fall and make it better, and sometimes, as you just said, you just almost better to hop down and start over, hit that refresh button.
We'll get Kato's score in a moment. Meanwhile, Teramoto on the balance beam gets a 13.633. That should maintain her standing as we go to the final rotation in the 2017 AT&T American Cup. Yul Moldauer of the United States in front. Back live in Newark, New Jersey. 2 Americans lead the 2017 AT&T American Cup because that's what Americans do. Meanwhile, in Rio, they were the final 5. And they dazzled us with their gymnastics, but wow, guys, did they make the rounds after Rio.
They were everywhere. Big Poppy with Allie Raceman.
And of course, the CMA Awards. You know, it's always fun. They're always in leotards, their hair pulled back, and to be able to wear a gown and walk a red carpet. Madison Koshin, of course, Texas Rangers, her favorite team.
You walked a few red carpets, didn't you, Nastia?
I sure did.
Well, it doesn't get better than this. Simone Biles with the flip and the toss. And then there's Laurie Hernandez winning Dancing with the Stars. That is taking it to another level as she's there at Citi Field with the Mets. She's with Andrea Joyce now.
Al, it's kind of amazing that we got Laurie to stand still for just a couple of minutes in one spot to be with us. You have done so many cool things the last several months. What would you say was the best thing you got to do since Rio?
Since Rio, definitely Dancing with the Stars. I mean, that was so much fun.
All right, so you were really like the little sister to Simone Biles. Now she's trying to follow in your footsteps at Dance with the Stars. What is that role reversal like for you? Did you give her advice?
Yeah, I did give her some advice. She told me she was getting blisters from the dance shoes, and I told her to try to wear socks while she was wearing her heels. But, I mean, I still look at her like the older sister, and I still try to follow her footsteps, too.
Well, and to talk about that a little bit, here you are at the American Cup. How weird is it for you not to be competing? Do you miss it?
I definitely miss it, and it's definitely weird. I mean, I walked into the the arena and got butterflies, and I actually had to like remind myself, like, you're not competing.
You had more fun, I think, in Rio than just about anybody. I mean, it looked to me and to so many people watching you that you enjoyed that competition so much. When you were 10 years old, you said, I want to be famous. I want to be on TV. What was it like for all of that to come true for you at such a young age, at 16?
Yeah, I mean, a year ago, I would have never thought that I would be on TV or, you know, be going to the Olympics and whatnot. And the fact that I was able to make that happen is like, you know, the little girl in me is high-fiving me right now. And I'm really looking forward to the future because this is really cool.
Okay, talk a little bit about the future. We've seen you every place but the gym, it seems. Have you been in the gym? Are you thinking about it? Where's your head right now on that? You haven't retired.
No, I haven't retired. I mean, I've been to fitness gyms and things like that, but the Dancing with the Stars tour just finished. And so right now, I mean, I'm just trying to get back into shape, and I'm going to take a little break, but I do plan on coming back.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody put your feet to the fire right now and said, are you coming back? It's a yes.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much. And I know that you've got, it's like traveling with a rock star, Al, when you're down on the floor here at the American Cup with Lori. Are you going to have a chance to meet any of your fans?
I hope so. Yeah, I think so.
All right. Thanks so much for being with us, and have fun the rest of the year.
Thank you.
All right, Al?
Okay, Andrea, stardom. It's a lot to think about. We'll come back for the final rotation here in Newark, New Jersey. Tonight, two-time Olympic medalist Lindsey Vonn competes in the Super G at the Olympic venue in South Korea as she goes for her 78th World Cup title. It's the Alpine Skiing World Cup tonight at 9 Eastern on NBC SN. There's ski jumping's venue at Pyeongchang in South Korea. Boy, it's getting close. They just keep on coming. So here are the standings now heading to the final rotation. Regan Smith still has a lead of almost a point, unbelievably, after coming off the balance beam. And Yul Muldauer has a lead of .099. So that's one little mistake away from changing. And yet, as we're rejoined by Tim Daggett and Nastia Lukin, his approach, the way he does gymnastics, you almost instantly fall in love with this guy.
Absolutely. If you didn't know that Yul was going to be a star, you just weren't paying attention. He has had it since he was a little kid, and it's a showcase right here. He's showing the world just how great he is. But right now, like you said, .099 ahead. That number rings in the head of Oleg Vernayev because that is what he lost the gold medal to Ko Uchimura in the all-around.
Wow. Meanwhile, the American women, Nastia, are learning how to fight a little bit today.
They are, and you know, this is really about experience, especially for Riley. She's had a few mistakes, very uncharacteristic mistakes, and Regan as well on the beam. We're used to seeing her rock solid on that event, but it's the year after the Olympics. They all need a little bit more experience, and that is exactly what they're getting here. But I believe that Regan and Riley are the two future stars of USA Gymnastics.
What did you think listening to your father?
I mean, I think he's doing a great job with them, and you know, obviously I'm trying to be a proud daughter, but at the same time it's been really interesting for me to watch too, because Marta had such an amazing career and what she did with the national team. So huge shoes to fill. I mean, I think we're all very anxious to see what he's going to do from here on out.
Believe me, Valerie is going to do just fine. I can guarantee you that.
Well, you knew because he did just fine when you competed against each other.
Absolutely, yes.
So the men head to the high bar, the women go to the floor exercise for the final rotation here in Newark, New Jersey to see if an American tradition can continue. And we're back at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey, the 2017 AT&T American Cup.
Now on floor exercise for People's Republic of China, Xia Yufen.
And it's King of the Mountain format. If you're last, you go first. And if you're first, you go last. And here's Xia from China.
Well, you know, we're so used to seeing China be so great in that routine on the floor exercise. Not just the difficulty, the execution, everything was just a little bit weak.
No performance level, you know, and China, they really struggled and underperformed, the men and the women in Rio. They came home with only a team bronze. Both programs, you see very little power on that really low chest. There's going to need to be a lot of change, I believe, in China. The men's gymnast that's here is a phenomenal athlete, but wow, he has just fallen all over the place today.
The story with the coaches is really crazy.
Yeah, believe it or not, the head coach of both programs, Wang Yubin, had to return over $1 million in bonuses that were paid out to him over his entire career. They said that it was corruption and that the bonuses were illegal, and he either had to pay back or go to jail. Some couldn't, and they did go to jail.
Now, Riley McCusker, who had a really bad fall on the balance beam.
And this is really, really important for her. For her confidence, not just for today, but for her future. She needs this routine. Well, that's a lot more like it.
Nastia, I can hear your father say anybody can fall off the beam, but what do you do next?
And that's exactly right. Actually, let me see her coach. Maggie giving her a few words of advice. In 2013, the year after the Olympic Games in 2012, Simone Biles competed at the American Cup. It was her first major international competition, and she fell off of the beam at that competition. And obviously, it all worked out for her in the end at the 2016 Olympic Games. So I love Riley. I think the future is so bright for her. Again, this competition was such a great experience. And now it's time to get back in the gym and just work a little harder.
But I think this was so incredibly important for Riley, and she met the challenge. Just absolute pivotal routine in her life for her psyche going forward. She struggled on this in training a little bit, but that was about as well done as I saw her do it all week.
And you know, she's not the strongest gymnast that we've seen, but you see right there, a little bit low on that landing, so she just needs to work a little harder on that strength and the power. But just so gorgeous to watch.
Not a great score, but a fight-back score of 13.5 for Riley McCusker. And that's the kind of bounce back that is noticed by Valerie Lukin. This is the 2017 AT&T American Cup. The AT&T American Cup has been brought to you by Pantene. Strong is beautiful. And by AT&T. Look who that is. Nastia Lukin. There's Tim Daggett.
Oh, gosh. It's in color.
It's unbelievable.
They must have colorized
No, they
that.
did.
Yes.
They did.
It's got a little tone of sepia.
But we wonder whether Reagan Smith can find her way to fit in a long line of American gymnasts who have begun their march to the Olympics here at the American Cup.
And, you know, she really is the front runner right now on the U.S. national team. Of course, she was the alternate at the Olympic Games. And when we talked to her, of course you want to make that Olympic team. But for her, I think even just being in that alternate position was such a great experience for her. And now this is her time. These next 4 years going into Tokyo, I truly believe the time is now hers.
But you can't diminish how hard it is to stay at the top of your game in women's gymnastics for 4 long years.
It's exactly what we said about Simone Biles, and she did it.
Well, she did, absolutely, but we've seen many that couldn't before. It's a huge challenge. I'm not saying I don't think she's capable, because I do think she is, but it is a phenomenal thing to pull off.
You are looking at the men's leader, Yul Moldauer, from the University of Oklahoma. And I don't think he's coming on sooner. I think he's coming on right now.
Absolutely.
So this is the end of warm-ups in the last rotation. Again, if you're in last place, you go first. If you're in first place, you go last. King of the Mountain format. And again, his lead is only 1/10. That's a grouchy judge away from going the wrong way.
No, without question. And he does have a very risky skill in his routine that Oleg Vernayev does not do. Oleg doesn't do the double flipping skill over the bar, the Kovacs type element that Yul does.
And we'll start things off with Akash Modi, his American teammate, who's had some good moments here today.
And, you know, Akash told me before the meet that, you know, he hasn't put 6 routines together in one full meet. And he said, I really, really want to do that. Amazing fight for him early on the pommel horse, but represented the United States extremely well today.
He's in 3rd place, and what he wants to do right here, I think, Tim, is just stay right there.
Absolutely, and like Reagan Smith, he was a reserve for Rio. He traveled down to Brazil. Said it was a good experience. Little bit shy on that release. Didn't have enough energy. And this one's going to be hard to get over, too. A little close to the bar, and it makes it hard to do a nice, fluid giant swing right out of it. Akash has not been known to be great on high bar. This is a good routine, a good dismount, but definitely opened the door in a few places, but a solid effort.
He had a huge lead over 4th place, so he's in pretty good shape here,
yes,
I think.
Absolutely. So he does a couple of release skills in combination. And what needs to happen is you have to be way away from the bar when you catch if you're going to do 2 in a row right here. And he doesn't have that swing, so the second one comes really close to the bar. And look at the hips right here, the elbows. Both of those are deductions, and the rhythm is a deduction as well.
And that dismount that he ended with, of course, a double twisting double back. So you're going to see 2 flips in the air with 2 twists in a laid out position. So you see starts off really well, little sloppy right there at the end, a little bit of knees bent, legs apart, small hop on the landing.
But this is kind of Akash on high bar.
We're good.
That's what he does.
One more for Yul and we're good.
One more for Yul and we're good. That's about his level right now. He can be a little bit better, certainly, but he did a good job today without question. And he's thinking about 2 things right now. He's thinking about Yul getting through his high bar routine, and he's thinking about OU at Stanford in a few hours, because these guys are consummate teammates.
And he's going to get a 13.8. That's a lot of deductions, more than he would want. But as I mentioned, he had a very big lead over 4th place Kato. So I think he's going to be on the podium here today. And now, remember, the lead for Yul Moldauer is 0.1. And here's Oleg Vernayev on the high bar. One little glitch.
So he does a lot of these release skills that you need to be far away from the bar. Does that one extremely well. Here comes another right here. Nicely done. About as good as I've seen him do. This has to go right to a handstand. A little bit shy. Oleg was known to struggle on high bar, but improved dramatically in the last couple of years. Actually even made the individual event finals at the Olympics on this event. Needs a stick. And it was a good routine, actually very clean for him. That's a 3/10 hop on that landing, though.
Pretty similar to the one we saw at the Olympic Games where he just missed out on that all-around gold medal.
But if today was going to be a movie for Yul Moldauer, right? In the movie, they would have to have him overcome something significant to get to this championship, right? And what would be better to try and get past an Olympic gold medalist?
No, without question. And it is all in Yul's hands at this point. Just not quite enough rotation, chest down, and so if you hop and it's wider than shoulder width on the men's side, it's a 3/10 deduction, and that certainly was.
So keep that mistake in mind as we get to the final results. Asuka Teramoto of Japan, second place after the third rotation.
Well, a very strong routine, a nice finish, and a good performance today from Asuka Teramoto of Japan.
And there is a score that's good, not great, from Oleg Vernayev. It's a 13.6 with 1.8 of deductions.
Got me shaking my head a little bit, to be honest.
Where are those deductions?
I was just thinking, I mean, of course, that big hop on the dismount, there were a few handstands, but the judges have just seemed a little bit strict today.
Yeah, floor was incredibly tight, the scoring. I don't understand why the powers that be feel that they need to make it harder and harder every time. I personally believe that the best gymnast in the world should be approaching a perfect execution score. But right now, the way it's set up, if you're the best in the world, you're about 1.2 off. And I just don't think that that's the smartest thing for the sport. Here he goes. Major release right here. And I'm sure he's fine. But another newish rule. You have 30 seconds to finish your routine once you get back up again. Watch this. He doesn't really get to twist all the way around and just doesn't get that first hand on the bar as well as he could, but that certainly will shake you up a little bit. But, you know, he won this event last year, overtaking Danielle Wittenberg on the last event with a clean high bar routine. But that fall right there, that's a point off and another half a point, maybe more, in difficulty. That was beautiful. Another big adjustment in his shoulders there. Looking for handstands, and that was not even close. He was supposed to connect these two together. Wow.
You think he's tired?
I think he's tired, and I think he's a little bit rattled and maybe lost, because he's a guy that doesn't do this stuff. He is known for his consistency. The Japanese Federation at his first Olympic Games said this guy, this young kid in 2012, went to the Olympic Games. He did everything they asked him to do, completely unfazed, unrattled. They said that's why he's so valuable. Not today.
We'll get that score, low as it might be. Here's the leader, Regan Smith. She needs a 12.132 to take the lead, and I think even in this world that I don't understand with the scoring, she's good.
A little bit of Adams family here. She's kept this routine from last year. Really cute stuff.
Up until that last tumbling pass. Again, nothing tragic, just a few tenths that she's going to lose on that landing.
But you know, Nastia, on the balance beam, she reminds me of Simone Biles, and in the choreography here in floor, she reminds me of Simone Biles. There's a playfulness to it.
No, there really is, and I think that's why she's so entertaining to watch. Not only does she have those difficult skills, but she has that artistry. She has, you know, she has it all, and I really believe.
And you know what? We got to wait for the judges to make it official, but that right there is your 2017 American Cup champion. There's no doubt about it. She is going to win her first major international title.
And Ryohei Kato absorbs an 11.066.
He probably hasn't scored that in like 15 years.
So from the women's leader to a champion to the men's leader, he needs to be better than a 13.501 to claim his first American Cup.
Oh, remember, you know, Oleg Vernayev did a pretty darn good routine. I think he got a 13.6. And so they are really, really tight with the scoring. Yule can certainly get it done. Has one major test. Beautiful one-arm swing. Nicely done. Right to the handstand. This is what he is thinking about here. Got to catch the bar. This is a Kovacs double flip. Oh, baby. That was kind of fingertips, but... A little bit over on that not great handstand. I think he really needs a stick.
You got it. That felt like a championship landing, didn't it?
Oh, it did. It did. The one thing, though, is he does not have as high of a start value as you might imagine, his maximum score. But it was pretty clean. There was one element where he was a little bit past on the handstand, and this was really far from the bar. It looked like just fingertip catch, but it doesn't matter if you grab the bar. No, that was actually a little better than I thought it was.
And Tim, as you said, you have to stick that dismount, especially when there's really no room for error. Not as difficult as a dismount as we've seen from the other competitors, but he gets that stick.
And here he is, hugging an Olympic gold medalist, hoping that that's his destiny. He's thinking a little bit about Oklahoma as well with that third stripe on his head. But Yul Moldauer gets a 13.733. He will remember this day forever. This is the day he wins his first American Cup.
Yeah, he can't believe it, but I sure can.
He's just one of those guys, Tim and Nuss. You notice a difference after watching him for 30 seconds.
And he has been like that since he was just the smallest little kid.
You know, he was the one, he watched the Olympic Games just a few months ago, and he said, I want to prepare myself even more than these guys did for 2016 because they trained and prepared so much, but even that wasn't enough.
So we've got a pair of first-time American Cup champions, and Reagan Smith is with Andrea Joyce.
We're just sitting here giggling a little bit about the light in Reagan's eyes. You came into 2017, you said you were ready to kick butt. Would you say that's your definition of kicking butt, is winning your first major international competition?
Definitely. I'm so proud of myself, but even though I had a few mistakes here and there, but I definitely can clean up for like the rest of the season 2017, because hopefully I have more to come. So.
Well, Tokyo is a ways off, but how big of a step is this for you on that journey?
I think it's a huge step for me just to compete at the first meet of 2017 after the Olympics and stuff, and there's new codes and stuff everywhere, so I feel like I got blessed to have this opportunity, and it's just so amazing to be here and like train with other girls from different countries, and especially the boys. This is like my first competition with the boys and stuff. So, and my teammate Riley, it's her first international meet, so I'm so proud of her. And yeah, and thank you. Yeah.
Well, congratulations. Not at a loss for words, so that's a good thing. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
All right, Al?
It sounded a little like an Academy Awards acceptance speech.
Wow, that was so neat. Reagan Smith beats Asuka Teramoto, and it's not close, by 1.868. That's a lot of gymnastics separating number one and number two. Riley McCusker, with that harsh fall on the balance beam, comes in fourth. Back to Andrea Joyce we go.
All right, Yul is 2 for 2 very early in this Olympic cycle. You're not in any hurry for Tokyo or anything, are you?
No, just taking one meet at a time.
Very, very close going into that final rotation. What was going through your mind when you stuck that landing? Did you think you had done enough?
You know, I hope so, but, you know, I just went in there. I was like, I'm going to do my gymnastics. The scores are the scores, the results are the results, and I did my job. So.
You've called yourself one of the young dogs out there. What message are you sending with this performance against this impressive field?
Anyone can do it. You know, any kid with a dream can do it. If you work hard, you can do it. And I just want to thank, you know, all the guys back in Oklahoma, and I want to thank 5280 and my family for supporting me through this, because I can't do it by myself, you know. They help so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Al?
Oh, those are nice final thoughts, Andrea. No question about it. There's always support necessary. Tonight at 9 Eastern on NBCSN, Lindsey Vonn goes for her 78th Alpine Skiing World Cup victory from South Korea. Then at 12:30 on NBCSN.